So next up, the question is how to actually get into the games industry. At this moment, there are tons of different opportunities, whether you are more indie or mobile, AAA, into larger, PC productions or what have you. One of the goals for many has been to be able to work for Remedy, and we are lucky to have Mira here explaining how to get to the games industry. Please.
Okay, thank you. So, like said, I'm Mira from Remedy, as you maybe have picked that up already. So I'm working as a senior talent acquisition specialist in our talent team, and like said, I'm here to give you some tips of how to get in the game industry. So here's the brief overview of what I'm going to talk about today. Yes, hopefully you do see it there. So I first start with company presentation. So I tell a bit about Remedy, and then present some things that is good to think before you start to look for that dream job of yours in the gaming industry. And then I talk a bit about portfolios and application and give some tips for those. And then last but not least, I talk a bit about where you can actually find those opportunities. And there actually won't be this traditional questions and answers section, but there will be some coffee and macarons back there. So after this presentation, I'll be there. So feel free to come and chat, and there will be some of my teammates too who are very excited to get to chat with you. Okay, so starting with company presentation. So here are some numbers from Remedy Entertainment. So we are independent game developer founded in, what is this doing? In 1995. And so our roots are actually quite deep in demo scene since our founders were part of this Future Crew demo group. So that's a fun fact to be stated here. And Remedy has grown from this small, around 60 people company focusing only one project at a time to our current multi-project company. And we have over 300 people working at Remedy at this point from over 30 different countries. So it's been quite a rapid growth. And as you can see, even these numbers here can't keep up with that. And most of our team is based in Finland, in Espoo, where our studio is, but we do also have a small number of team members in Stockholm, Sweden. And here's some pictures from the studio. So like mentioned, it's in Espoo, Niittykumpu, and basically we have everything that we need there. So, okay, this is going too fast. So basically everything that we need is there. So we have our mocap studio, canteen, gym, it's a semi-open space, and of course, since we're in Finland, we have 2 saunas. And here's some Remedy history. So our highly acclaimed titles include games like Control and Quantum Break, Alan Wake's American Nightmare, Alan Wake, Max Payne 2, Max Payne, and Death Rally. And actually, we recently released this Alan Wake remastered. And so here's a bit of that, and then to the point. So before you start looking for that dream job of yours from the gaming industry, there are some things you could and maybe should consider before that. And first, the school versus self-study. And I'm not saying here that now you're going to drop out of school and just start making your own projects. That's not the idea here, but just that you should know that this degree doesn't guarantee you a job in the industry, but there's actually your own projects, your own activity in learning these things it has quite a big role when you're searching for that job in game industry. So things to pay attention to are like learning skills on your own and already like building a solid portfolio before maybe the first internships or before graduation. And then about self-study, so since the industry is still quite new, it's very common that people self-study a lot. And there are many good options, like different forums and mentorships and things like that. And then of course, participating in different like gaming chants and hackathons and so on. And of course, like things to pay attention when self-studying is it's actually like getting that feedback you need to develop your skills and of course to gain experience from the teamwork. And then this generalist versus specialist, which is something you might want to think of like which path would you take, and this is not like you choose like one or the other and this is where you're gonna stay for the rest of your career, not at all, but it's good thing to think a bit like what kind of things interest you. So basically both are a great choice and not mutually exclusive. Maybe specialist roles are a bit more typical for AAA, that you focus on this one area and then you like just develop yourself to get really good at it. And then it's this generalist path, so it's more common for like indie and mobile studios. So you learn a variety of different skills and then you're like responsible for multiple different areas. So basically there is like no silver bullet, like of course, like depending where you want to go, it's not that you do this and this and this and then you'll get there, but these are still good things to consider. And of course, what's important is to actually like research your country's market. Like, are there like what kind of AAA studios or indie or mobile studios? For example, here in Finland, there are a bit more like mobile studios, and then in Stockholm, there are plenty of AAA studios. So basically, understand your environment and where do you want to work, what kind of things you want to focus on. And then more things to consider. So learning about different roles and disciplines that game industry has. So you actually know that what interests you, what sounds good to you. And also, what are your strengths and core skills? Not that you should only do things that you know already, but if you have something to build on. And of course, what kind of things you are passionate about? What are your interests? And also communication, like also in the gaming industry, when you're actually making these games and cooperating with like your own team, other teams. So it's very vital that you have these like very good communication skills and that you'll be able to express yourself. And then a bit about portfolios and applications. So it's all about first impressions. So preparation and research. So one thing is to like know your core competences. So when you're like going to that interview, be ready to evaluate yourself, like what kind of things you're good at and what kind of things you're not good at, what are your strengths and what are not. So it's very good to reflect this a bit when searching for a job. And also think about your 2-year plan, like what kind of things you want to acquire, because when you start working at the studio and you're not like that familiar with the gaming industry yet, like of course the studio you're going to and the team you're going to work in are committing to invest their time on you and helping you with that personal development and your professional path. So it's good to think already in advance, like what kind of things you want to learn, like what kind of interest you have, like what do you want from that. And of course, research the studio. What are they known for? What kind of projects have they had? And what kind of future plans they might have? And of course, like studio size, since this affects the workflows and roles they have there. And of course, learn about their tech and art style, gameplay. and keep your ducks in a row, so to say. So it's good to keep your CV and or LinkedIn like always up to date. So when you actually see that dream role that you want to apply to, so you already have those up to date. You don't have to like start working on those. And use concrete examples on your CV, because recruiters and hiring managers, like all they know of you, and then your past experience, if what you tell them, like they only know the skills that you mention there. So I always say that you actually can't be too concrete in your CV. So concrete is good. And of course, LinkedIn profile is good to have. It's actually better than a business card, so keep your profile updated and keep it in English. Build a network there. There's no need to be shy in LinkedIn. The whole purpose of LinkedIn is to be this place for people to like build and expand their professional network. So you don't actually need to know people in advance that you are like contacting there. You can like send this like connect invite and for example send a message that you're like interested in things that person does, and it would be nice to chat sometimes, and you'd like to follow their post or something. So just like fill your network with interesting people. And of course it's good to put some references there. So of course, like references, for example, your like people you have maybe work with, and if you have like working in some projects, of course, like mention those there. And it's good to have your portfolio like ready and easily accessible. And here are some like tips especially for programmers. So of course, like this easy accessibility. For example, it's good that you can add some like GitHub link when you're applying for a position. And it's good to like in this too, because it's one way to be concrete. For example, like I have the case that we actually hired a person who was like not that senior that we were actually looking for, but there was this like GitHub link, and we checked the code and thought that, hey, actually this looks really good. So so without that we might not have actually like interviewed that person, but now they are working in the company. And of course, if you have like own complete project, like game-related projects, it's good to mention those, and like all the things you have like done in those projects. And of course, it's good to, it's never too early, like when coding, to think of like good practices, like how to comment your code and that kind of thing. And of course, there's like Unreal and Unity. Unreal is like more used in AAA studios, and Unity usually like in these like indie and mobile game studios. And of course, for example, like we have our own in-house engine, Northlight. But basically, if you're familiar with Unreal Engine, so then like you can keep up with that. And of course, it's good to, like, for example, participate in hackathons and such, just to like grow your network, and then you like get that like experience of like teamwork and feedback. And also some tips for designers. So actually the same things: easy accessibility, and also like present your own like complete projects, and of course. Teamwork projects too, but if you have, for example, worked on a mutual project with other people, so it's good to tell that what you did in that project. And of course, documentation. It's good to pay attention to your like design documentation, and the same case with Unreal and Unity. And of course, if you have like modding experience, it's good to also mention that and what you have been doing. And for example, these game jams are good things to participate in. And then some tips for artists. So again, easy accessibility. I guess I've highlighted this enough at this point. And also quality over quantity. So So usually like 1 to 3 pieces are enough to send if you're applying for a position. And of course, it's important to be consistent with those. And it's good to also try to include a piece that actually speaks to the studio you want to work with. I'm not saying that you're just like copying their style and trying to do the same, but kind of like what in that studio inspires you, and you can like transform that in the work, or also like what kind of art you would like to see in that studio in future. And of course, well, this actually applies for all this asking for feedback. It's very like important for you to develop, and because like in gaming industry, like you will get feedback, so it's very and you will need to give feedback to others. So it's very important to kind of start to learning it already early on. And of course, like also it's good to like describe what you have like done, like how much time you spend, and kind of open the concept a bit. And of course, also like showcase like all the tasks and workflows that are required. And of course, it's good to like start building your portfolio or like already early on. You can like think of the games you want to make and start like focusing on that kind of things. And just like basically like don't wait for the school or others to like tell you what you're supposed to do, but just do what you think it's cool and what inspires you. And there are, for example, these different like contests for artists that are like good to participate in. And then I could talk a bit about recruitment tests. So those are quite common practice, especially for junior roles, and they usually take from a few hours to 1 week, so they vary a lot. And those are great experience. So basically, usually companies like to use quite a like tests that are actually relevant. So it's like you get experience of like how to schedule your work, and of course like getting feedback, but also like you get a peek of what the actual work is like when you're doing the test. And of course, ask for feedback. In a perfect world, you will be provided that anyway. But if you don't get that, like make sure to ask that, because like even if the process wouldn't continue after the test, the feedback is very valuable to you. And here are some like tips, like what steps to follow when you receive an assignment or a test to complete. So basically read the instructions carefully and then repeat. Because usually the most mistakes come from when people are like rushing to things and don't take their like time to actually go the instructions through. And of course, like plan and scope your work and be realistic. We all are a bit time optimist sometimes, but it's good to be able to actually plan the work and then execute. And of course, like ask for feedback, iterate, evaluate, and usually, like when you receive a test, like you get instructions that if there's something that you don't understand, like you can of course ask. So use that possibility if there is anything that you're not sure of. And remember that it's never going to be perfect. Like return the test on time, and usually the purpose of the test is in that it would be great, especially if you're like applying to like this entry-level junior role. The company doesn't really expect you to do perfect. It's more about how have you like approached the test. And actually, I got some advice from my coworker about tests that when you're doing, for example, this like test that you have gotten 1 week time for that, always when you start doing it, like read the instructions again, and also include the scope or a plan in that test, because then those who will check the test will like see how you have approached this, how you have planned this. And here are some basic interview questions. These are usually like asked on quite early rounds of recruitment processes. So just some things that you can prepare that in interviews you will be asked about these things. One is career history. So what kind of tasks and responsibilities have you had related to like each role or project you have been participating in? And why are you interested in that studio you're applying to? And of course, like culture and values and other possible topics like teamwork, like communication, sharing, feedback, conflict or time management, that kind of things. And of course, like what are you looking for? What are your interests? What do you want to do next? And then, last but not least, actually finding the opportunities. So of course, one is networking, and I can highlight this enough that this is very beneficial to network. So this gaming industry is international, but like at the end, quite small community. And it's good to, for example, attend local game development events, for example, or join the International Game Developers Association and participate in conferences and, for example, join some like game dev groups online. There are like several of those. And of course, different game jams, hackathons, competitions that you can participate in. And of course, like applying for internships. And here are some takeaways that you hopefully got from this. So one is to like research and study. So before you like start to apply for jobs, like think or investigate a bit like what is out there, like what kind of studios, what kind of roles, and what kind of things interest you. And when you find that studio you want to apply in, like what kind of roles they have and what kind of like tools and workloads they have and what kind of projects they have. And remember that this like portfolio is first impression of you. And people can't know anything about you that you have not like explicitly like stated in there. And of course that asking feedback is very important because that helps you to develop yourself and your skills. And networking is very beneficial to you when finding those opportunities. And don't be shy when networking, for example, in LinkedIn. And also be kind to yourself. Not always you like instantly find that dream job of yours or that perfect opportunity. And also be humble. It's good to keep in mind when you start that there's still like a lot for you to learn, but also know your worth. Okay, and I think that was about it. So thank you very much that you were here listening today. And we should soon have some like coffee and macarons back there. So feel free to come and chat and join those. Thank you very much.